In this video, I'm going to discuss flat design, and we're also going to take a look at Adobe Illustrator, which is an incredibly good program to create artwork that is basically flat design. Edgar Degas said, "Art is not what you see, but what you make others see." Graphic design is defined as the art of visual problem solving for a specific task. To go further, what you make others see often guides what they do, what they pay attention to, or helps them to solve some sort of problem. Graphic design can change the mood or a message with the slightest differences in shape, shade, letters, spacing. So what is flat design? This style of art has become an integral part of everyday life. It represents an important direction for consideration as it influences the creative decision-making and problem-solving processes. Its potential for modern products is primarily in that it helps to establish the taste or aesthetic of the product for the viewer. On the right here, you see two very fine examples of flat design. One of them appears to be a logo for some sort of a business. It looks like it could have either been used in this particular context for some sort of a media application, maybe the web or something, and it also readily set up to be used for print, just the way it is. The other one is New Chef, which is a really beautiful piece that is very flat design directed. And this particular piece, if you look at it carefully, is a piece of signage. Very clearly, it's set up to be a piece of signage that appears somewhere within or in front of the restaurant. Both of them are really beautiful contemporary examples of what flat design should be. Here we have a flat design sample on the right. If you take a look at the top, the most prominent feature being that it's inspired by flat art. Its style, it's two-dimensional with a very visual approach. It stands in stark opposition to this rich and detailed visual style that you see below. Something like this was probably the richly stylistic one was probably very popular 10 years or so ago, and this new flat design is something which now is becoming much more prevalent. Flat design is a direction which has found broad and diverse expression within the digital art realm and is known for its minimalistic and concise use of visual expressive means. Nowadays, the term is widely used as the opposite of rich design. Again, go back to the samples. Look at the flat design at the top. Look at the rich design at the bottom. The rich design, like I say, goes back a few years. Now, if you go and look at that same logo, they've probably converted it to some sort of a flat design. It has a nice harmonic simplicity taken as the basis of the design approach. Flat design has been proliferating for the last decade or so, finding its broadest and most diverse application in the sphere of digital design for the web and in logo design. However, the style is suitable for a wide variety of expressions within the scope of visual design. Flat design can be used for print, posters, stamps, postcards, book covers, magazines, pretty much anything that you can apply any kind of piece of art for. It's very flexible, very powerful, very clean, very contemporary. The origins of flat design. The major influence to flat design comes from the graphic style movement. This was around the 1920s, and here's a really beautiful example of flat design. It's a poster, and if you take a look at it, it has everything that you find in normal flat designs. Very simple elements, beautiful use of space, type which is very clean and very easy to read, and a visual that is based on a photograph but converted into a strong graphic presentation. Flat design claims its roots in the Swiss style of design. Swiss style, also known as International Typographic Style or the shortened International Style, is a design direction which appeared and got its first dose of criticism in the 1920s. The basis of the International Style is a reliance on simple form, bold and strict font use, which is clearly readable, harmonic and geometrically based. Flat graphic illustrations are heavily relied upon with clean visual hierarchy. The modern style variation took the name of flat design and became instantly popular. It started a new direction in graphic design based on simple yet dynamic creative. As it developed, it opened an amazing vista for this minimalist and functional graphic approach. Some of the basic and prominent features of flat design. If you take a look on the right here, you see Super Mario. Super Mario, the Mario Brothers, were very popular when my son and daughter were quite young. It's interesting to see this piece. I really liked it. I thought it was pretty wonderful, the simplicity of it, the flat design of it, so I included it. Simplicity of shape and elements, very prominent feature in flat design. Minimalism, here again, if you have any recollection of what Mario was like, he was a very cartoon kind of character, but they've really done a minimalist job with him in this particular piece. Functionality, bold and highly readable typography. Look at the Super Mario, very, very clean, simple font. Clear and strict visual hierarchy. Close attention to details. Thoughtful appliance of bright colors and contrast, supporting quick visual perception. An avoidance of texture, gradients, or complex form. The principle of the grid with an overall geometric approach and a clean visual balance are all basic features of flat design. The benefits of flat design. Flat design offers several benefits that are both determinant of its popularity and diversity in digital design. The form also influenced trends of modern print design as well. Among the most significant benefits of flat design, we should mention readability and legibility, clear visual hierarchy via shapes, colors, and fonts, effective support of quick and intuitive navigation in web and mobile interfaces, easy adjustability in terms of adaptive and responsive design, effective legibility on various screens, being easier for developers and usually presents less load for the digital system. Flat branding design. Here's a great example. We'll talk about this more in a moment. The branding design sphere of today has successfully applied the principles of flat design. Flat design has spiked significantly in the past few years, not only in UI design, but in some major brand identity redesigns, and in among the biggest players of the corporate world. Not only because of its trendy look, but also due to its flexibility, as many products are presented on devices and are used as digital support in web or via application and advertising. Flat design in branding is often represented in logos and symbols. Here's a beautiful example of this. Take a look at the Hershey's in the top area, and you'll see they've gone to a great deal of trouble to give this that look, that realism look. And in the lower one, they've taken on and embraced flat design, and you get this wonderful sense of the Hershey product. With everything mentioned above, flat design provides a broad field for creative research and stylistic concepts. So, for this demonstration, I'm going to stick with the flat art theme we discussed in the PowerPoint presentation earlier. We discussed flat art and we also discussed rich art. Well, I'm going to demonstrate using this portrait of Edgar Degas, and the reason I'm using Edgar Degas is because I used one of his comments and I thought it might be an interesting thing to try to work with Edgar Degas, a portrait of him, to discuss rich art as opposed to flat art. So I'm going to start off by going to my layers panel here, and I'm going to hide the flat art layer. There's the portrait of Edgar Degas. What I'm going to contend here is that in 1800s, this was rich art. And the reason I say this is rich art is because it was their attempt at the time to do a realistic likeness. As you can see, this probably looks very much like a stylized version of the artist himself. So given that context, that would basically make this a piece of rich art. It's an artist's conception of what he himself looks like. It's certainly not a photograph. So this would be, in my estimation, a piece of rich art or rich design. Then, of course, if I bring my layer back, what I've done is I've taken that same piece of art and I've given it a flat kind of look. So I'm going to use this context to create this split image for you. I'm going to demonstrate a few things, show you how to produce this. I'm going to do that by going first to the File menu, and I'm going to go Open. I'm going to find my JPEG. So I want you to see this is a JPEG file, which means it's a bitmap. And if you remember what we talk about when we talk about bitmaps as opposed to vectors, bitmaps are resolution dependent, which means essentially they have a certain size and they have a certain resolution. And it's very difficult to make them bigger. So one of the things that we want to do when we have a piece of art like this, if possible, is to try to turn it into a piece of vector art. Now, there are programs that do this extremely well. Adobe Illustrator isn't one of them. It does do it, but it doesn't do it as well as some other very specialized programs do. Just like in the sense of Adobe 3D, Adobe 3D does wonderful 3D on a limited scope. It's the same with this. But anyway, hit open, choose it. There we go, open. So here is Edgar Degas. Let me go view, zoom out. All right, and you'll notice that we only have one layer here. And we also notice that the artboard isn't sized correctly. See the artboard here? It's smaller than the actual image of Edgar Degas. So let me go to the view menu and let me zoom out and zoom out again. There we go. And let me get my artboard tool. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to adjust the size of the artboard so that it fits the piece of art. And I'm not even worried about it being like really exact at this point. I just wanted to get it to roughly fit the size of the art like that. As you can see, I went a little bit over on that one side, but it's not important. It's just now that you know how to resize your artboard. Now, actually, I could probably do this. I could probably, no, actually, I can't. It just seems to be, that's okay. That'll work on now. It's up. Wait, I'm not going to go nuts over this. You get the general idea. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to go to my layers panel and I want to put another layer in here. And then what I want to do is I want to copy this. So I'm going to go edit, copy, edit, paste in place. Now I got two of them. And you'll notice that they're both on layer 1. You'll see the little, it's still highlighted, and it's that little blue indicator. If I click that and drag that up onto the layer above, I now have that artwork, same exact piece of artwork on two layers. Layer number 1 and layer number 2. I'm going to rename these layers just for the heck of it, Rich. And this one is going to be flat. Now, I'm going to close this for a second. I'm going to real quickly talk about this. So I have panels open here. I have 3 panels. I have my layers panel, my image trace panel, and I have my links. The reason that I do this is because for this particular project, let's say, for instance, I had many of these to do, or I did these regularly. I did something like this regularly. I would create a panel for this. Right now, this artboard is set to Essential Classic, but I've modified it, meaning I've closed it off. Watch what happens when I go to Essentials Classic, reset Essential Classic. Watch what happens. There. All of my panels come back to the way they normally look. This is all of my normal panels. It's reset to Essentials Classic. So what I'm getting at here is that by taking all of these panels and getting rid of all these panels, which is what I'm about to do, bring all these panels out and close them. Keep doing this until they're all gone. All right, almost gone. And I want that one. I don't want all of them. I want to leave my layers, and that's it. I don't need my artboards in this particular one. So now I have my layers panel out there. I have my layers panel. I'm going to go to the window menu, and I'm going to go down to links right there. And I'm going to drag my links over to there, close the actions panel, and put my links panel up in there as well. So now I have my layers panel, my links panel, and I'm going to, with this selected, I'm going to go to the object menu. I'm going to go down to image trace, make. Now when I do that, I begin the process of tracing this image. Now it's important for me to point out that right now I'm on the flat layer. That means essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the tracing for the flat layer first. There are 2 traces that I'm going to do. One is a trace for the rich layer. One is a trace for the flat layer. The reason I'm going to halt for 1 second is because I want to get that panel out. There is my trace, and I bring the trace panel out, and just like any other panel, I can nest that panel right in there. So now I have my layers, my links and my image trace. This is, as I was saying a moment ago, if I were going to be doing this on a regular basis and I was going to be flopping from panel to panel, notice that I'm still in Essentials Classic, which means essentially I've modified Essential Classic by making it look like this. But if I come in here, drop this down and go New Workspace, and if I call this Bill for Trace and hit OK, notice it no longer says Essential Classic. It says Bill for Trace. And if I go back to Essential Classic, it's still got this set, but I can go in here now and I can go Reset Essential Classic. Now that's set back. If I go back in here and go Bill for Trace, there it is. So it's as simple as that. It's just basically setting up the way you want any particular panel for any particular job to look. In this case, Essential Classic, there it is. And in this case, I'm going to go back into Bill for Trace. All right, now I'm going to open up my image trace panel. Those are the settings for my image trace panel. I'm going to open Advanced, although I probably won't use Advanced because I'm not going to get so deep into this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly go through the process of showing you how to convert this piece of art. So right now, the setting for this, the mode for this is set to black and white. I want it to be color. So now I got it set to color. You'll see it'll progress through the initial clustering of the pixels to make that image, and it'll come up with an image in a second. There it is. But it's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for as flat a presentation as possible. This is somewhat flat, but this is not what I'm going for. I'm going for like, I'm going to say 6 colors. That's what I'm going to say. So in this particular case, I could use this slider and drag the slider down, but I have it in mind that it's going to be 6 colors. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to just change 30 to 6. And then I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to progress through its process of reclustering this, and let's see what it looks like with 6. It looks okay. I think I probably could go down. Let's try 4. This is a little bit of an experiment because I don't exactly remember how I did it the first time, what number I used. I'm going by my memory on this. Let's see, we come up with 4. And that's probably about what I'm looking for right there. Maybe 5. Let's try 5. Let's adding one more to color to the mix. Let's make it 5. We got time. There. Okay, that's pretty much what I did. So this is my flat representation of the Edgar Degas piece of work. That's what I'm going to call flat. Now, what's interesting about this is if you want, I'm going to go to my layers panel. I'm going to, for a second, I'm going to lock that rich layer because I just want to interact with the top layer. I'm going to go to the object menu. I'm going to go to image trace, and I'm going to expand the image trace. So now I've expanded this image trace, and all those colors now are individual vector colors. Now I have a choice. I can either come in here with my group selection tool, bring that out and put it over here. If you click on this thing, see how with the group selection tool, you see how you can just click one piece of this? You can click just one piece of this. So anyway, I am going to click some of these little areas up here with this group selection tool, and I'm going to change the color to that color right there. So all of these colors that I'm grabbing are going to, see how it's changing all that? I'm doing this because I'm further flattening the art. I'm actually making this thing even flatter by modifying these colors. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. It's got to be the group selection tool. Come down here and grab as much of this as I can. I went a little bit, I have a little bit of a problem right there, but let's see what that does. Does that, which isn't particularly good. So I do have a problem with this linking together. So I can probably, let's go edit undo. All right, let's leave that one out of it. Let's leave that one out of that particular mix because there's a way I could modify that, but in this particular case, I don't have to worry about it because this is just a demonstration and it doesn't necessarily have to be like on the money exact. I just want to get you the general idea of. So see how we're getting down to a much more simplified version. Oh, and by the way, always remember when you're doing these things, you're going for your group selection tool because it is grouped. And I'm going to just grab these last few up here. I know I'm being very fussy about this whole thing, but I might as well do a little bit of this to get the look that I'm going for. There's a couple more up there. And okay, there we go. There we go. That's one more eyedropper. There we go. Okay, so there's my flat. There's my piece of flat art. What I want to do is I want to interact with the flat art and the rich art. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to create a clipping mask. I'm going to clip half of this artwork away and leave half of it showing. So I come over here with the basic shape tool, get my rectangle tool, come somewhere towards the middle of this. Let's go to the view menu and let's go to rulers and show rulers. And let me drag a guide out so I can kind of place this about where I like the look to be. I'm going to say somewhere like that's probably pretty good. Now, I don't know. I didn't measure that. I don't know whether it's full center or not, but it doesn't really matter for this exercise. And I'm going to come over here now and I'm going to create a rectangular shape just like that. And it doesn't matter much what's in that shape because that shape is simply going to be used as a clipping mask. So now I didn't ungroup this piece of art. If I click on the piece of art, the entire piece of art selects. The reason I didn't ungroup this is because it's probably a very good idea to not ungroup it. If you ungrouped it, then you got all this busyness going on right there, and it becomes a little bit difficult to make sure you have everything selected, whereas by it being grouped the way it is, I can come over here with the group selection tool and I can click any of those little areas that I want to modify them. I now have my Degas picture and I have that nice mask that I created. So what I'm going to do is go down here and go to Object, Clipping Mask. Where are we at here? Clipping Mask Make. There we go. So I just want you to see, that I've recreated that piece of art. Let me go to the guide view, guides. Where are we at here? Hide guides. And now I have my flat. There's my flat. And now all I have to do is, let's bring the flat back out and let's lock it and hide it. And let's unlock the rich and let's select the rich. And let's go to the object menu. Let's go to image trace, make. Again, the same process. We come over here to the image trace panel. Only this time we're going to come over here and go to color. Give it a second to generate its clusters. And it will process this, and there we go. This is set to colors 30, and it has paths set to 50%. I'm going to run this up much higher, and let's see if I can generate more detail out of this. Actually, there might be a shorter, quicker way of doing this. Go to limited. Let's go to full tone. There we go, full tone. Just go to full tone. Let's go a second. This ought to bring this thing up tremendously. Much more like the real thing. This processing is quite enormous, believe me when I tell you. We should have a pretty good rendering of this now. Doesn't look like it changed it that much. Colors 100% pass high. Oh no, there it goes. There you go. That's much better. That's it right there. It took a minute for it to process. There it is. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to bring my flat back. There is my Edgar Degas flat and rich piece of art. Not too difficult to do. Find yourself a piece of art and give it a try.